Well, good afternoon and welcome to, at least in our neck of the woods, a chilly Thursday. This morning early, the temperature was in the mid 60s when I went out and came to work. Now, with the passage of a strong cold front, it's dropped to the 40s and it's forecast to stay there during the day for the next week to 10 days. Lows at night are expected in the low to mid 20s, so it seems like a foretaste of winter has indeed arrived in Kansas. Well, life and work are what one makes of them, I've often heard. And I suppose that's true for my life and my work at an urban church here in Wichita. My days often run the gambit of emotions and life situations. There's often in every day, some kind of an element of boredom, contentment, excitement maybe, surprise, learning, accomplishment, satisfaction, maybe even some apprehension and other emotions and feelings that are interspersed into the day or the week. I'm going to give you just a couple of things that have happened recently which could probably be put into one or more of those above categories. These are just ordinary things that have happened during the ordinary course of ordinary days. Well, I made it a point some years ago to always have a Bible in my office that I could give to someone who requests one. And I wanted a Bible to give that was nicer than just those inexpensive $5 kind that often are given out. So I ordered several with a leather cover, extensive aids and helps, and it's in an understandable and readable version. I've had 3 of these Bibles on my shelf for a couple of years now, one of which is a large print version, and no one has ever asked for one. Until yesterday, when an unknown man came to our church door and asked for a Bible. I thought it a little unusual, but didn't think much about it, and I gave him one, and he went on his way. Well, today, another man came to the door with a similar request. Now, that may not seem like much to you, but I was genuinely surprised that 2 Bibles in 2 days went out the church door. I have to wonder if maybe they talk to each other or if there's something going on the street. These guys were, I think, homeless individuals. I may not be aware of what might have transpired out there. So now I'm ordering a few more Bibles for my shelf. In another time, yesterday, was election day nationwide. I don't know how you voted, and that's really none of my business. However, I was pleasantly surprised and satisfied that so many people went to the polls and expressed their opinions through the ballot. And although not all of my candidates won, I was generally pleased with how things turned out. I had been somewhat apprehensive as that day approached, and over the last several days, I've made a conscious effort to distance myself from social media and television ads as best I could because of all the hype. That tactic seemed to work along with my thinking about the confidence that I have that God ultimately has the final say. And that if I really stop to think about it, I have no idea who really should be in or out of this or that office when it comes to the will of God and His plan for His creation. In another event, I received an email from a friend earlier this week asking me to list several books that I'd want to have in my library if I could only have those books and not have access to any others. Well, I enjoyed thinking back to books that I had read or was familiar with and was happy to recommend several of them to her. And in turn, she asked to borrow some of them, which I'm pleased to do for her. That exercise in recalling books also got me to thinking about times past of which these books were a part. I was excited to answer her question about books and equally pleased that she wanted my opinion, and I was pleased to be able to take a trip into the past, even if it was for only a brief time as I thought about those books. In yet another event, Monday was a really slow day at the office. Not much in the way of phone calls, people at the door, or needs that could be met. And after I spent an hour or so at the beginning of the day answering emails and catching up on the things that I had to do, the rest of the day stretched out in front of me. So I picked up a couple of books I'd been trying to read, and I made some good inroads toward getting that done. However, it's difficult for me for some reason to spend hours just reading. Every 20 or 30 minutes, it seems, I'd have to get up and walk around the inside or maybe the outside of the building. I even went on a longer walk in the afternoon, about 30 minutes worth downtown. And I checked email and messages every so often to keep up with that. So I would categorize Monday as a day of maybe some boredom as well as a day of learning and accomplishment because of what I was able to read. Well, okay, of those 3 or 4 things, you get the picture, I think. So what are your days like? Are they filled with anxiety, nervousness, and stress? Do you have places in your day to relax and just let things go? Are you at a place where it's difficult or impossible for you maybe to physically move around as you'd like, or you no longer can read as you want to, or do some of the other things that tended to make life pleasant and enjoyable for you? Do you, quote, stop and smell the roses, unquote, so to speak, and express gratitude for your blessings in some way or another? And how have you made a place in your day for God? Do you think of Him often? Do you have some kind of quiet time or devotional time? What about prayer? What about meditation? Do you have good relationships with those you interact with during your day? Did you say please and thank you to others? Yes, those words are still in use and they still work wonders sometimes. Did you see someone in need or hear of some situation where help was needed? What did you do to help with that need or that situation? What did you do with the words of Jesus when He said that we are to love others as He has loved us, and that we're to love God wholeheartedly and love our neighbors as we love ourselves? Some things are more important than who was elected to this or that office, or the fact that 2 Bibles went out of the church door in consecutive days. Some things transcend our feelings and emotions that come and go during the day. Some things come our way intentionally and demand some kind of loving one's neighbor response. Well, may God bless you and yours during this season of Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.